Namaste, and welcome to today's session. So today I'm going to do a solo session. So let's just start with a simple sitting practice. I think we've not had a good sitting practice for some time. So let's do that. Sit comfortably wherever you are. Take a deep breath in and exhale. And as you sit and as you get into the mode of self-observation, and as you start beginning to watch what's happening in the body, in the mind, you'll begin to notice that the mind begins to slow down. Whatever is happening right now, just witness it. Be a sakshi. Be the observer. Observe the sensations of the body. Observe the sounds around you. Simply observe whatever is happening. As you get into the mode of observation, you begin to distance yourself from whatever is happening. Simply watching. Neither resisting anything, neither wanting anything. The observer is in the state of neutralness. If there is a disturbance, then accept the disturbance. When you accept the disturbance, it no longer remains a disturbance. A disturbance is a disturbance only when there is a resistance towards something. If there is no resistance, then there's simply what is happening. What is happening may be pleasant or unpleasant. One simply observes whatever is happening. Or another way, a better way of putting it, is that observation happens. One doesn't observe. The very act of observation happens by itself. Relax into the state of awareness, being, presence. Do not force anything. Do not try to control anything. Just for these few moments, let go and surrender. If any thought comes, allow the thought to come and go. Be the silent presence in which everything occurs without any effort on the part of anybody. Just observe whatever is happening moment to moment. Like whatever is happening is not happening moment to moment. Whatever is happening is always happening in the now. So just be aware and keep your attention in the now. Now is the only time there is. In this moment, there is no person. There is just this living presence, breathing, sensing, conscious, aware. A piece of life existing as life itself. Nothing special about this life. It's like another expression of life, just like the trees, the mountains, the animals. There is this life too. Relax into this life as life itself. No doing, no becoming, nothing. Just aware, existing, alive. In this moment of existence, is this in this moment of life, acknowledge the mystery of this life. The mind can never fathom where this life came from. The mind can never fathom what is the purpose of this life. The mind can never fathom what is the meaning of this life. So drop the mind and just be one with the life that's happening right now. This consciousness which is experiencing life in the form of sounds, sight, sensations, thoughts, feelings. No need to understand this, simply be one with it for now. Remain in the silent stillness that is life. Just this moment, life happening as it is. Nothing more. No need to interpret. No need to add meaning. No need to think. Just life happening right now. Just be with it. Even after we come out of the sitting practice, remember your true self as life itself. This identity of being a person emerges through thoughts. Your true self is this simple awareness of life, consciousness, presence, being. Just this pure existence without words. When you come into the silent presence, you get in touch with this pure existence without words. Whenever you can, take a pause and come back into pure awareness. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Another breath in and exhale. Slowly and gently at your own time, at your own pace, whenever you feel like it. And gently rub your palms and cup your arms. Gently open your eyes whenever you want. Okay, so namaste and welcome back. There is some construction work going on nearby, so there's some noise of the drill which is happening every now and then. So I'll try to sort of put myself on mute. I don't know whether you can hear this sound or not, but whenever it comes in, I'll just maybe mute it for some time if possible. I think it'll continue for a little while more. Okay. So, since today is a solo session, so I have the freedom to talk about whatever I want, which I guess I always have, or read whatever I want. So, I was wanting to read from this book I've been reading earlier, Collision with the Infinite. And I remember talking about this woman who's uh, on a bus stop in Paris, and then suddenly she gets this experience of she's not the body, she's not the mind, and she's just the witness or the awareness of the body and mind. And then she shares her experience. So she calls this book Collision with the Infinite, A Life Beyond the Personal Self. It's a good book, worth reading. I'm going to read a portion from this book and then also share my thoughts around it. So it says, the vastness carries a non-personal desire to experience itself. This appears to be the purpose of human life, for the vastness to meet itself everywhere it turns. So when she's using the word vastness, she's essentially referring to this experience of just being conscious. And when you're conscious, in your consciousness, actually, you can see whatever you see. In your consciousness, you can hear whatever you hear. In your consciousness, you can taste whatever you taste. In your consciousness, you can sense whatever you sense. In your consciousness, you can touch whatever you can touch. In your consciousness, you can smell whatever you can smell. In your consciousness, you can think whatever you think. In your consciousness, you can feel emotions. So everything that is happening in your consciousness. Now, by consciousness, I'm referring to this feeling of being alive, just consciousness, life. And this is not your consciousness, as in this does not belong to you, the person. This is just consciousness. Like there's consciousness in this body, there's consciousness in another body, there's consciousness in an animal, there's consciousness in plants. So virtually the whole universe has consciousness. It may operate in different ways and forms. The nervous system of a human being is different. The nervous system of a cat may be different. The nervous system of a fish or a bird can be different. So, but everything is has life. Everything is alive, eh, and everything is operating at a certain vibrational frequency, if I may put it. Mm. Even matter, whatever you may consider, has these particles, these atoms which it's made up of. So everything essentially is experienced in consciousness. And what she's trying to say is that the the mind may create any goal of life. My goal in life is to have a house. My goal in life is to have a job. My goal in life is to bring up my children. My goal in life is to do whatever goal, purpose the mind may create, and to give meaning to your life. And that's fine. That's how the mind functions. But what she's saying is, what this consciousness truly desires is to experience itself. It's like the consciousness wants to taste itself. Um, I'm wondering if I can give a metaphor or example related to this. Mm, like we are experiencing the world through our five senses, but we are experiencing the world through our five senses only because there is consciousness in these five senses. So the what consciousness really wants is, yes, you're going out in the world, but if you can shift your attention back into this awareness that there is life, that there is consciousness, at least for some time, just acknowledge and honor this consciousness and honor this life just by simply being aware, which is what we did or do in all the sitting practices, to bring our attention back into the state of pure awareness, into the state of pure consciousness. That is what consciousness is saying. Or in a way, if I may put it, like, um, I think I'd written one article once, which was God loves fun, and how God is playing hide and seek, and he says that I will hide in the heart of every human being, and then he will look for me in temples and images and everywhere, but he will not look for me within him or her. And that's what I was telling a friend of mine who had come visiting me yesterday. I said, and he was quoting the Bhagavad Gita, he was quoting the scriptures, he was quoting the verses and all of that wisdom and knowledge. And I mean, I am not a pandit of any kind. I said, the only thing I know, which is the most simplest thing I know, is that if there is a God, then that God is right here, right now, in this consciousness, this being called me, this body, this mind, which is alive, which is conscious. Some energy is giving this body, this mind life. And the easiest and the simplest way for me to meet God is to get in touch with this energy or this life which is emanating from this body. So if I have to really pray to God, if I really want to honor God, or if I really want to respect God, then perhaps the easiest and the simplest way is to become aware of the consciousness in this body. Because there is consciousness in this body, then therefore everything else is. So if we can just be aware of our own life force energy, of our own living presence, our own, just simply being alive, simply existing, we get in touch with, we honor that divinity which is there everywhere, but the way for this apparatus called this body and mind to get in touch with that divinity is through the consciousness emanating in this body. Then she says the notion of personal growth or inner development is contrary in every respect to the way the vastness exists. So she's saying basically the mind believes that it needs to work on itself. Oh, I need to improve. I need to grow. I need to become a better person. I need to. Uh, all these are nothing but concepts of the mind. Consciousness doesn't have any such agenda that, oh, I need to improve. I need to become a better person. I need to work on my anger issue. I need to work on this. Nothing. Consciousness is simply awareness, is simply being, is simply existing. The mind creates all these agendas that I need to become a better person and I need to work on this and that. The quest to awaken implies a sense of futurity that precludes basking in what actually is right now. So she says that the more you try to harbor the notion or encourage the notion that I need to work on this, I need to become a better person, I need to grow, I need to. Um, it's the mind has created a conceptual identity, and the mind has projected a better version of itself in the future. Whereas consciousness is always here, consciousness is always now. So, in a way, when the mind is invested in an idea of becoming a better person or becoming more self aware or becoming more conscious in the future, the attention is taken by the mind, as the mind has created an identity of itself and projects itself in the future with the idea that, I'll become a better person by doing A practice, B practice, C practice. And when the mind creates this assumption, this belief, I'm a person and I can be better by doing A, B, C, X, Y, Z, the mind stops, or rather, the attention stops being in consciousness. The attention has moved in time, in future. The attention has moved into this belief, I'm a person and I need to do something to become a better person in the future. And where is consciousness? Consciousness is always here. Consciousness is always now. So you miss out on being in touch with that which is life for an idea or a projection or a belief of the mind. I am unable to see the value in any method of evolution that implies getting somewhere or becoming something different. And so she's saying that in according to my insight, I don't see any value of any method which tries to make you into a better person, into a more evolved person, because who is going to become a better person or a more evolved person? It's only this mind-based identity or a concept that is trying to become better. This consciousness is not has no such ambitions of becoming a better person. As soon as one embarks on a path to somewhere, the awesomeness of what is here and now becomes unavailable. So, in a sense, whenever we try to find that, I need to get somewhere, I need to do something, I need to achieve something. One is, of course, it creates a lot of anxiety because we are uncertain whether we will get what we want or not, whether we will be able to achieve our goals or not, whatever those goals that may be, or whatever thing the mind is invested in. And the other thing is, because you're so invested in an idea about the future, you miss out on the most awesome thing, which is life happening right now. Because no matter whatever investment your mind may have about a future goal, in the larger scheme of things, it is really irrelevant. In the larger scheme of things, eventually everything will will not sustain. Yes, which is not to say that one does not work towards certain things, but I think that even that working towards, if we get more absorbed, I mean, I'm using words and language, so I have no way to, yeah, I mean, when I say more absorbed in consciousness, there's really no, it's like the wave cannot absorb itself in water. The wave is always water. Okay, but if I have to use language, the more we realize, the more we stay in touch with consciousness, which is our natural essence, the consciousness will express itself in its natural way, where you don't have to necessarily using your mind work towards some specific goals. The consciousness will do what is necessary according to the configuration in every body and mind. Like the consciousness in me, when it's free of the social mental conditioning, wants to teach. Now, then I will try to find ways and means to find a space where I can, which is conducive for me to teach. I will find ways and means to be in a space where which vibes with the energy that I am. Like perhaps I want to be closer to nature, then I will naturally find ways and means to arrange my life, to organize my life in a way that I can reach out to more people with this teaching. Maybe the consciousness will naturally want to express itself through writing a book. So the point I'm trying to make is there is an action that happens of the mind, which is generally an action which is based on anxiety of wanting to achieve something, because that achievement gives me a sense of uh, which which seems to validate my self-worth, whereas consciousness is not acting out of any anxiety. Consciousness is simply expressing itself. It is not seeking validation for its self-worth, like uh, the seed of a banyan tree will naturally express itself by becoming a banyan tree. Like a kitten will naturally become a cat. Like a rosebud will naturally flower into a rose. So everything in nature has its own unique natural essence, and according to its natural essence, it expresses itself in a different way. Similarly, when we become free of our mental conditioning, or another way of putting it is when we get more in touch with the consciousness that we are, then we are lesser ruled. We are our mind and our life is ruled lesser and lesser with the fears and the anxieties and the greed of being a person, and then the natural self-expression happens. For somebody, that natural self-expression would be to teach. For somebody, the natural self-expression may be to paint. For somebody, that natural self-expression in the moment may be to look after the house, to be a parent. And that natural self-expression also perhaps undergoes sometimes a change over a period of time, because it's not constant. But the mind may have a certain template. No, I must be like this, I should be like this. The mind always has a template based on some kind of a social conditioning. I must be like this, I should be like this, I should behave like this. Whereas consciousness is simply in touch with what seems easy and natural to express in the moment. Actually, come to think of it, the way of consciousness is very simple and very easy and very effortless. The mind is the one which is very complicated. So that's what I can say. So it's not that when you become more conscious, you will just stop doing anything. You will continue to do something, but it will come out of a natural, organic expression at the right time, in the right manner. So because it is natural, because it is organic, because it happens in the right time, at the right manner, hence it feels effortless and spontaneous. Because the mind tries to force something, hence it feels effortful. So that's the difference between the way of the mind and the way of consciousness. More important, the somewhere people are trying to arrive is actually not locatable since it's everywhere all the time. Mm. So, whenever someone is trying to arrive at a certain location at a certain point, uh, it is really there is really no point that one can arrive at, because there is only one moment that is existing in time, which is only the now. And actually speaking, even this word time is actually a concept of the mind. There is no moment also, there is no now also. Even when I say now means actually I've created a unit of time which is now. There is only It's very difficult to describe a consciousness which is timeless, because it is just existence. If I don't know if I how can I describe a unit of time which is not even the now. I don't know if you guys are getting what I'm trying to say, which means there is just pure existence. There is no question of time. There is always pure existence. There has never been even a now. There's never been this moment. There's only always been pure existence. Whenever you think of time, you're actually thinking using your mind. So mind and time is a concept. You think, oh, this my memory of what happened yesterday, my imagination of what will happen tomorrow. It is a concept of the mind. Whereas consciousness is always in a space of timelessness. There is actually in this moment, there is no now. Actually, in this moment, there is no moment. There just is. There's just life happening. Life is not checking what time it is, just life happening, life happening, life happening. There is never a moment, there is never a moment that life is not happening. Mm. So there is nowhere that one needs to get. It is whatever one believes, I need to get somewhere, I need to achieve, I need to, do something. It's always a movement in time. In consciousness, things happen, and then the mind may make an event out of it. Oh, this happened, but things are just happening. It's movement is happening. There's never a time something is not happening. All ideas about accomplishing spiritual awakening are based on the assumption that there is someone, a you, who can perform the practices and accomplish the goal. Hmm. Which is, I think, what I was talking about a while ago, that mm, when we're talking about trying to become a better person, even this idea of trying to liberate yourself from this idea of me by doing some spiritual practices presupposes that there is a me, and this me can do something and to become free of this me. But this someone doesn't exist, or another way of saying that this someone exists only when you have unconscious thoughts, or when you have thoughts, then this someone exists. Whenever you start thinking, oh, this, I need to do this, then the I comes. Whenever you start talking, oh, I feel this, I think this, then the I comes. But when there's none of this mental chatter, there is simply this pure existence, consciousness, awareness, being. Without all of this mental chatter, also life is happening. Take, for example, the popular spiritual notion that we need to get out of the way so the infinite can just flow through us. So there is one concept and idea that if we get out of the way, then the infinite or the universal energy will begin to flow through us. It is predicated on a non-existent someone who can figure out how to surrender. Like we often say, okay, just let go, you surrender, and then the divine will take care, or the divine will do what needs. Even that is a concept and an assumption, because it again is presupposing that there is somebody who can actually surrender, who Who is here who can actually, surrender, let go? The only surrendering and the letting go that you can actually do is just, and this is the only practice that I recommend, and which is the only practice which I think can be done, if at all there is something called a doing, which is simply let go of this constant needing to control things and life. Just shift your attention from, just observe your mind, just observe your thoughts, which is constantly trying to make its to-do list, which is constantly trying to control things, which is constantly trying to make things happen. And take a pause and let go. And when you let go of that mind, which is constantly trying to hold an idea or a notion of the future, automatically the attention comes into awareness, into consciousness, into whatever is happening. And that is life. That's the only, it's not you surrender to a concept of God, oh, I let go and all. You don't, you just have to surrender, or rather, you just have to let go of whatever the story that the mind is holding on to. And by coming back into awareness. We need to see that both spiritual and psychological practices, every single one of them, are based on taking ideas about who we are to be truth of who we are. So all the psychological spiritual practices that we like to do or tend to do is based on an idea that we are somebody, we are some person who has to do something to either become a better person or to achieve enlightenment or whatever it is. The idea that we are the doer behind our action does not make us the doer, no matter how often we get hoodwinked into taking this idea to be the truth. Hmm. We believe we are doing things, no matter how much we may want to believe that things are just happening. And the whole purpose of this practice, if at all, there is a practice of coming back into awareness, coming back into observer mode, is to gain this realization that there is really no person who's existing, there is really no doer of the action, that there is just this experience of life which is happening and unfolding by itself. And some teachers say that you can't even practice awareness. If this realization has to happen, it will happen whether you do something, whether you don't do something. And that's what also she mentions. But I like to believe, based on my experience, that the more you shift your attention into awareness, the more you come in touch with consciousness, the more you get in touch with simply you, the living presence. I feel, I don't know, I may be wrong, I don't, but I can only share because of my own experience. Perhaps the probability of this happening, this realization happening, may happen faster. I don't know. I mean, I really can't say. But this is the only thing. If I have to recommend a practice, then this is the only practice that I recommend. And again, I would not even recommend this practice with the hope that you have this, oh, now that I constantly practice awareness or coming back into the moment, coming back into consciousness, seeing myself as living presence. So now this realization will happen one day. Because again, then you use this practice again as a goal, as a mean to achieve something in the future, and then the whole purpose is lost. So if at all you have to do a practice awareness, whatever you may call it, mindfulness, meditation, with no goal in mind. Just observe whatever you're doing. Just bring your awareness into that moment. The mind is constantly into unconscious thinking. Just shift your awareness, bring it back into the moment. Then there is the notion that we must stop the mind in order to be free. So this is another favorite concept of most people, that we must stop the mind for us to be free. But who will stop the mind? Like everything else, the mind is just what is. The mind is really not the problem. The body is not the problem. The body feels hungry, the body eats food, the body digests, the body excretes, the body has sensations. Sometimes it feels good, sometimes it doesn't feel, it feels uneasy. That's the nature, that's the dharma of the body. Similarly, the nature of the mind is to just produce thoughts. Thoughts is not the problem. The problem is when we believe that I am a thinker, that I am a person who's thinking these thoughts. Otherwise, these thoughts are coming and going. That's really no problem. Sensations are coming and going. Feelings are coming and going. When believe I am a thinker of these thoughts and I take delivery of all these thoughts, then comes all the guilt, then comes all the anxiety, then comes even anxiety is actually not the problem. There may be anxiety, there may be fear, but there is no person who is really anxious. You can witness your anxiety, you can witness your thoughts, you can allow the thoughts to come and go. A mind that generates thoughts is not a problem. It is simply doing what the mind does. The mind is made of the same vast emptiness as everything. So everything is reflected in that same vast emptiness. Now, whether you may call it consciousness, awareness, being, presence, everything comes and goes in that vastness. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions, perception. Nor does the mind need something in order for the vastness to reveal itself to itself. If the mind should stop, it simply does so as part of the unfathomable mystery. So if the mind, so over a period of time, if there are less thoughts, if you can just be without thought, that's fine too. But if there are thoughts, that's also really not a problem. Mm, As far as possible, the practices come back into awareness. Don't lose your attention in thoughts. But once that realization happens, I'm not a person, then thoughts can come, thoughts can go. I do not get hooked onto the thoughts, at least not for very long. A problem occurs only when the mind interprets the presence of the thoughts to mean something. For example, I am bad or unspiritual. I will never succeed in my meditation practice unless I stop the arising of thoughts. Thoughts and ideas are never a problem unless they are taken to be something that they are not. When we interpret the thoughts, oh, I'm not a good person. Oh, I'm not worthy enough. Oh, what will happen to me in the future? This is the problem. Otherwise, thoughts come, thoughts go. Thoughts are not the problem. It's only when you identify with those thoughts then the problem happens. If they are to be seen just as ideas and thoughts, then they are not being identified with. If you see, like you see a tree, fine, you have no problem with a tree. A tree is a tree, you have seen it. You see a cat or a kitten, seen a cat or a kitten. Cat or a kitten is a cat or a kitten. You have no problem with it. You see a mountain. A mountain is just a mountain. You have no problem with it. You experience some acidity. Okay, if you don't bring your suffering mind in interpreting mind, then there's no suffering. There's acidity, fine. Let me take a glass of milk and you observe the acidity. If there is a sensation, you observe the sensation in the body. Similarly, if there is a thought, you observe the thought. There is no problem. It's just a thought. It's come, it will go. As soon as you interpret the thought as this is my thought, or sometimes I even feel guilty about, oh, how can I think like this? Oh, how can I uh, mm, oh, this is another big problem. The fact that these thoughts, this radio is churning thoughts, that is not a problem. The fact that I feel that, oh, I should not think like this, oh, I should not want this, oh, this is the problem. If you can just observe all your thoughts, that okay, thought comes, goes, fine. Thought comes, goes, fine. Thought comes, goes, fine. Don't entangle yourself in, oh, this is a good thought, oh, this is a bad thought, oh, I should not think like this, oh, I should think like this, oh, I should cultivate good thoughts, oh, I should cultivate. This is the thing which is why I don't resonate so much with the Buddhist way of trying to forcefully trying to cultivate compassion. Ye mera, it may be somebody's path. I don't, uh, because when you try to force yourself to be compassionate, then that leads to all kinds of perversions actually, and all kinds of suppression. क्यों मतलब then you are like you're trying to, oh, I must be compassionate, oh, I must be kind, oh, I must be like this. So this is another problem. You just can't be yourself. Fine, I'm not saying that you must encourage cruelty or unkindness. I'm simply saying just watch your thoughts, as don't force yourself into trying to be a certain kind of a person or a positive person or think only positive. It just leads to unnecessary suppression and unnecessary craziness. Just watch the thoughts. Whatever bad thought, good thought, just watch it. Don't take the thought too seriously. Do what you need to do. You may, I'm not saying you do away with your mind. You may still use your mind, but don't uh, interpret these thoughts as your thoughts and they are a reflection on who you are. I hope, I mean, there's no one here in the class, but I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. Don't take these thoughts as your thoughts, and the nature of these thoughts, whether good and bad, reflects the kind of person you are. You are not a person in the first place. You are just consciousness. Thoughts are coming, thoughts are going. Sensations are coming, sensations are going. Feelings are coming, feelings are going. That's the nature of how it is. So to see things for what they are is to see with the eyes of vastness itself. So this is a very beautiful sentence. To simply see things as they are is to see with the eyes of vastness. I can replace vastness with emptiness, with awareness, with being, presence, because consciousness is simply seeing things as it is. It is not adding anything more to it. You see a tree, you see a tree. You see a mountain, you see a mountain. You see the sun, you see the sun. There's nothing more to it. You see a thought, you see a thought. There is no interpretation to it. This seeing is always occurring, whether or not we are consciously aware of it. Rather than getting caught by the mind, the vastness sees all the ways the mind attempts to hoodwink us into believing that we are an individual I who runs the show of life. Consciousness is simply seeing things as they are. The mind makes us believe I am a person and I am managing my life. I am running my life. I am controlling my life. This is a misconception of the mind. It sees how the idea of who we are muscles its way into the front row of the mind and insists it is not just an idea, but who we really are. And it sees the infinite everywhere. Where else could it be? And then sees everyone searching for it. So this idea that I'm a person comes in every idea, every thought, everything that we say or everything that we do. The most common predicament people bring to me is the experience of feeling cut off from the infinite. They find this particularly painful if they have had clear experiences of the vastness which they then feel has gone away. They want to know how they can stay in contact with the infinite at all times. This very question contains two implicit assumptions that pass themselves off as truth: that there is an I who is cut off from the infinite, who could apply itself to reconnecting if it had the proper technique, and that infinite has gone somewhere. These are the prime examples of how ideas masquerade as truth. Another simple way of saying the same thing is, imagine that the wave is saying, Give me some tools, some technique of how I can become water. Oh, or the way of saying, oh, I became water for some time and then I lost it. Now, what should I do to go back to becoming water out of the ocean? There was never a time that the wave is not the infinite, the wave is never water, but the mind has a certain experience, whatever it may have, an experience of great blissfulness, or and then it believes that that experience of blissfulness, of that oneness, was really the experience of the infinite. And then now I've and that experience may come, and after some time that experience may go, and the mind says, no, I need to get back that experience, that feeling of expansion, that feeling of infinity, that feeling of oneness, that absolute peace and bliss, because the mind starts interpreting that state of mind to be like pure awareness or consciousness. But pure awareness is not a state of mind. Pure awareness is every moment that there is the very fact that you are alive, you're conscious, means there is consciousness. You don't have to have a certain experience to experience consciousness. If you are just simply aware of whatever is you're experiencing consciousness, you don't need to have some profound experience and run after a spiritual experience of a certain kind to experience consciousness. In fact, there is no individual I who can figure out how to find the infinite again. More importantly, where would the infinite go? I mean, we aren't talking about something that could hide under the rug. If you could see things as only and exactly what they are, you would see that the you that is seeing is the vastness itself. If you can simply see things, which is the only practice I recommend, just simply see things just the way they are. Don't add, don't interpret, don't bring any more meaning making, conclusions, assumptions, ideas, concepts. Just see things just the way they are. And when you do that often enough, perhaps the realization will happen that there is no you, the person who's seeing things. It is just the consciousness which is seeing itself. It is just life experiencing itself. It is just mm, the character work prescribed by psychotherapy as well as by some spiritual traditions, including Zen Buddhism, leads to a similar trap created by not seeing things to be simply what they are. A relaxation of being naturally arises if one is not seduced by taking ideas to be the truth. We are so seduced by ideas and concepts. You read this book, you read this scripture, you read this, and then you quote this. And I mean, what can I say? If you want to add more confusion to your mind, then I would recommend read more and more spiritual books. Okay, a relaxation of being naturally arises if one is not seduced into taking ideas to be truth. This relaxation is anti-ethical to character work, with its clear position about how we would be if our characters were worked on. So this is not about trying to build a better character like parents try to do for children. Oh, be kind, be good, be all of that. This is not about developing a character. This is simply about seeing things, observing things with the eyes of emptiness, which means simply seeing things just the way they are. If I were to use the words of J. Krishnamurti, choiceless awareness. If I were to use the words of Eckhart Tolle, pure presence. Just be aware. Uh, when we knock on the door of character work, we are invited into the labyrinth of futurity. Whenever we try to become a better person, means then we have created a goal for the future, that there is a person, now he has to work on himself and become a better person in the future. Consciousness, there's nothing in time. Consciousness, awareness, presence just is. It is inherently impossible to arrive at a goal that is predicated on an I that will get us there. Character work is based on the same erroneous belief that there is an individual doer who runs the show of life and can train itself to be a better I. So, whoever is going to listen to these recordings, this talk, it'd be nice to get some feedback. You can share your thoughts either in the group, or you can share your thoughts you can join your palms. Namaste if you wish. You can close your eyes. My dear higher self, help me to realize I'm not a person born in time. Help me to realize that there really is no me. That all there is simply this experience of life living itself. Consciousness, awareness, presence, being, whatever name it may be, is experiencing itself. Help me to live a life without too many agendas, goals, to-do list. Simply focusing my attention in the present moment, in the now, in the simply awareness of life that is happening. And then naturally life unfolds at its own pace, at its own time, according to the manner it is meant to. I seek your guidance and grace to realize my true self as the awareness in which all happens. Om Shanti Shanti. Okay, so with that, we end today's session. I look forward to your feedback. Goodbye and God bless.